Alright, number 1. Use the information provided to write the equation of each parabola, given the information provided. Okay, so on this graph, they've given us a parabola that opens up. It has a vertex of 3, 4, and they've given us a focus point at 3, 5, and then the directrix line is below it at y equals 3. Now, you have to look at your formula sheet and decide what formula you use. So look at the box that says parabolas. There's 2 different types of parabola. Is this a parabola that has a horizontal directrix or vertical? Guys, what kind of directrix is this? Horizontal. So doesn't that mean that we use the formula y minus k equals 1 over 4p times x minus h squared? Anytime you're dealing with a parabola with a horizontal directrix, you use the one that starts with y minus k. Now, to be able to fill in that equation, you need a k and an h, which is your vertex, so we know that is 3, 4. There's your h and your k. And you need a p-value. Okay, those are the only 3 things you need to fill that in. The h and k, which is your vertex, and your p-value. Does anybody remember how to find the p-value? The distance between the 2 points, the vertex and focus. And how much distance is in between those? 1 unit. So now we'll write y minus k, which is 4, equals 1 over 4 times p, which would be 4 times 1, and then x minus h squared, and then since it's positive, since it opens up, that's positive 1/4. Had it opened down, you would have thrown a negative on it. And then you're done. That's the equation for that parabola. Okay, again, in number 2, we have a parabola. What kind of directrix is this? Horizontal. Guys, anytime your parabola opens up or down, your directrix has to be horizontal. Okay? So again, we're still using this same one that starts with y minus k equals 1 over 4p times x minus h squared. Just like before, you have to fill in a number for the k, a number for the h, and a number for the p. The h and the k are the vertex, right? Okay, which is 5, negative 2. Okay, your vertex is always your h and your k. And the vertex of a parabola is where it changes directions. The point inside is the focus. We also have to know the p-value. What is the p-value this time? 2, because from this point to this point is 2 units. So now we just write the equation. Y minus k. Your k value is a negative 2, so this will become a y plus 2 equals 1 over 4 times the p-value of 2, which would make a 8. It opens down, so it's negative 1/8, and then x minus your h, which is 5, squared. And that's the equation of that parabola. That's all you do. If you can know how to pick out which equation to use from your formula sheet, determined by the type of directrix, and pick out your vertex and your p-value and fill them in, that's all you have to do. Okay, let's look at number 3. On number 3 on your paper, there's no graph. Okay, and it'll be like that on the test. That's why we did it this way. So you'll use your graph paper I gave you if you want to graph it. Maybe you feel like you don't need to, but for most of you, I feel like graphing it would help. So let's go ahead and take that information given, a vertex of 7, 5, and plot it on the graph. So right 7 up 5. And I'll put V for vertex, that way I don't get confused. I'm also going to go ahead, since I know that's my vertex, and write H and K above it, because isn't that my H and my K value? A directrix, Y equals 4. Remember, a directrix is always a line. Is this going to be a horizontal or a vertical line if you have to cut through the y-axis? Right. If you want to cut across the y-axis at 4, doesn't it have to be running left to right to cut through the y at 4? So isn't the vertex just 1 unit above the directrix line? So where would that place the focus? One above the vertex, right? And that would make the p-value equal 1 because that places the vertex and the focus 1 unit away from each other. And this is the focus is above the vertex. Doesn't that also mean the parabola will open up because it eats the focus? So now we have everything we need to know. We know how the parabola opens. It's positive because it opens up. We know the h and the k, and we know the p. We are still using the equation y minus k equals because we are still dealing with a horizontal directrix. So y minus your k value of 5 equals 1 over 4 times your p-value, which would just be 4. It's positive because the parabola opens up, and then x minus your h value of 7 squared. And that is your equation for that parabola. Don't you feel like if you were working the test and they gave you this information, you would need a graph to put it on? So that's why on Monday when you're taking the test, even though it's on a computer, I'm going to give you this sheet of paper again, blank, so you have 8 graphs that you can work with if you need them. Okay, number 4. Use the information provided to write the equation for each parabola. Okay, so this time did they give y'all graphs? Okay, so they didn't give you graphs, so you use your graph paper, just like you will Monday. First, let's plot the focus. The focus is at -5, 0, so just left 5. And I'm going to write F beside it so I know that's the focus. The directrix is y equals -2. A line going through the y-axis at -2 would look like this. I go through the y-axis at -2, so it's a horizontal line, which lets me know I'm going to be using the equation that starts out y minus k, right? Because anytime you have a horizontal directrix line, you use the formula that starts with y minus instead of x minus. Okay, so now, where will the vertex go if that's the directrix and that's the focus? Right in between them. Isn't the vertex always right in the middle of those two things? So which way will this parabola open? Up, because you always eat the focus. It's always inside the parabola. And then what are the coordinates of that vertex? -5, -1. So that's your h and your k. So now the only other thing we need to write the equation is the what? The p-value. And what's the p-value for this one? 1, because there's only 1 unit between the focus and the vertex. So now here we go. Remember, that's your h and your k. So y minus k, and your k is a -1, so won't that become +1? Equals 1 over 4, because your p-value is just 1, so it's just 1 over 4. It opens up, so that's a +1 for it. And then x minus your h value, which is -5, so that'll make it +5 squared. Okay, why don't you take a minute before I just do it with you to try number 5 by yourself. Okay, number 5, we have a focus of 7, 1, so right 7 up 1, and I'm going to label that F for focus. We have a directrix line, x equals -7. For a line to go through the x-axis at -7, what kind of line does it have to be? Vertical. See how this line goes through the x at -7? So it's a vertical directrix, which means when we start doing the equation, we'll do the one that starts with x minus h. Okay? But before we deal with that, we have to find out some things. We're only given the directrix and the focus, so we have to find the vertex and the p-value. Okay, well how can you find the vertex when you're just given these two things? Right, the vertex is always directly in between them, so wouldn't the vertex be right there? And that's at 0, 1. And that's your h and your k. And then that also lets you know your p-value now. How far is the vertex from the focus? 7 units. So now we have everything we need to know to write the equation. Remember, it starts with x this time because we're dealing with a vertical directrix. So x minus h, which is 0, equals 1 over 4 times, which would be 28. Which way is this parabola going to open? To the right. Okay, the focus is always inside the parabola, so that means it opens to the right, which means this number is positive. Right is positive. And then y minus k squared. Now, when you look at these choices on your test, they're not going to write x minus 0. They're just going to write just x. Okay, there's no need for the x minus 0. Just put x. Okay, go ahead and turn to the next page. An arch in a child's toy having a parabolic shape has a height of 1 inch and a base width of 2 inches. Find an equation which models the shape, state the focus and directrix. On the test, you're going to have to not only write the equation, but they're going to have multiple choice for you. It'll also say the focus and directrix. But you're going to be able to figure out the right answer by just knowing the equation. You're not even going to have to worry about the focus and the directrix. Okay, because all 4 equations will be different. So as long as you find the right equation, you'll have the right answer. So let's go ahead and talk about the vertex. The vertex is going to be right there. And what are the coordinates of that point? Right. This is a parabola that has what type of directrix? Horizontal. Remember, parabolas that open up and down will have horizontal directrix lines, correct? So doesn't that mean the equation will start with y minus k? Well, what's your k value? 1, and then equals 1 over 4p. But right now we don't know the p value because did they plot the focus for us or give us the focus's coordinates? No. But the only thing we do know about this value is it's going to end up negative because it's opening down. And then after that, x minus your h, which is a negative 4, so won't that become x plus 4 squared? So now let's start narrowing it down. Now, there is a problem with these choices. See how all of the y's are just y equals, and then the number, the k value, got put over here? Think about it. If I rewrote this and I wanted the k to go over here, wouldn't I just subtract it over there, and it'd be y minus 1 equals negative x plus 0 squared? And then for this one, if I rewrote this, wouldn't it be y minus 1 equals negative x plus 4 squared? And isn't that the right answer? Doesn't it have y minus 1, x plus 4, negative, negative? So it has to be B. Think about it. Look at C and D. C has a positive 2. D has a positive 1. It has to be negative because your parabola is opening down. And then you just had to know your h and k were 1 and 4, and then that's enough information to pick the right one. Does that make sense? On the test, your choices won't look like this. They'll be in the right format. You won't have to change them over like we just did. They'll be right on the test. Does that make sense? Okay, now we're done with parabolas. Now let's move on to ellipses. Use the information provided to write the standard form equation of an ellipse. Okay, for this ellipse, where is the center of it? Right, the origin, which is 0, 0. So that's your h and your k. So what type of ellipse is it? Horizontal, because it's wider than it is tall. So when I look at my formula sheet, a horizontal ellipse is x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. So if I start writing that, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. Can't I just simplify both of those just to x squared and y squared since they're both zeros? So doesn't that eliminate b right away? Okay, now, another way you can start eliminating choices is the fact that it's horizontal tells you what about the equation? Right. Well, and since it's horizontal, won't the bigger number be under the x? So let's look at this one. This one has a 4 under the x, and this one has an understood 1. So technically the bigger number's under the x, so we're not going to cross it out yet. In B is the bigger number under the x? No. In C is the bigger number under the x? Yes. So now we just need to figure out what number should be under there. On the x-axis, from the center to the side is how many units? 5. Going up the y from the center up is how many units? So when you plug those numbers in, shouldn't it be a 5 squared, 25, and a 2 squared, 4? There's your 25 and 4, so it has to be C. Okay, why don't you take a second and try number 8 before I do it with you. Number 8. Well, first of all, what type of ellipse is this? Vertical. Which kind of lets you know the number under the y is the bigger number, correct? So doesn't that eliminate A right away? Because in A's equation, x has the bigger number under it. And anytime you have a vertical ellipse, the bigger number's under the y. So far, B, C, and D are okay so far. Where is the center of this ellipse? The origin. So doesn't that mean when you're writing the equation, it'll just be x minus 0 squared, which is just x squared, plus y minus 0 squared, which is just y squared, which eliminates D. Now we just have to decide what numbers go under there. For B and C, both of their values are 4 underneath the x. But for B and C, both of them have different y values. So let's measure. From the center to the side is how many units? 2. So 2 squared is 4. So that's why both of these are 4. But from the center up is how many units? So the number under the y should be a 49. So B. Okay, go ahead and turn to the next page. Alright, number 9. Identify the center of each. Remember, the center of an ellipse is the h and the k. So what's in the h place of this formula? A 10. And what's in the k? A negative 5, though. Remember, because since the formula is x minus the h is just 10. Minus was part of the formula. So over here, it's y minus k. So the only way this could have ever become a positive 5 is if you had done a y minus a negative 5. So the k was a negative 5. They're always the opposite of what they look like in the formula. Okay, so number 10, what's the center? 2, 0. Alright, identify the length of the major axis and the length of the minor axis. Okay, well, this is the way I would do this. If you want to graph it, you can, but to me, doing it this way is faster. We're going to identify the A and the B. A is always greater. So this originally was a 2, because when you plugged it in, you had to square it, and that's how it became a 4, correct? This originally was a 5, and when you squared it, you got a 25. A is always bigger, so doesn't that mean A is 5 and B is 2? But they don't want to know A and B. They want to know the major axis length and the minor axis length. Well, when we measure A and B, aren't we just going from the center over and the center up? So to find the whole length, what do you need to do those two numbers? Don't you just need to double them? 10 and 4? Because remember, when you're measuring A and B, you're just going from the center to one side, or the center up. So for the entire length of the major and the minor, wouldn't you just double those numbers? So go ahead and quickly try 12. This was originally a what plugged in? 4. And then they squared it, and that's how it became 16. This was originally a 2, and then they squared it, and it became 4. So what was your A value? 4. What was your B value? 2. Now, just so I make sure everybody understands, you don't have to, but I'm just going to quickly graph this. It's a negative 9, negative 3, so doesn't that mean it's really a positive 9, positive 3? So there's your there's your center of your ellipse, and it's going to go off this graph a little. If under the x is 4 units, so 1, 2, 3, 4 this way, 1, 2, 3, 4 this way, see how that really makes the length of the major axis a total of 8 units? And then for the y, if the b was 2, you would have gone up 2 units and down 2 units, so that's really a total of 4 units for the minor axis. So you see how I'm getting those numbers now, why I'm doubling the A and B? Okay, now let's look at the next question. Number 13. You're probably gonna want to graph this one, so you can do that on your graph paper. They give you the two foci points, and they give you the length of the minor axis. So the first thing I'm going to do is plot the two foci points, -6, 1, and -6, -5. Now, to write the equation, the most important things we need to know are what? To write the equation of an ellipse. The what, Trevor? The H and K, which is the vertex. Well, do you know how to figure out where the vertex is if they've given you the foci points? Right in between them. Isn't it centered right in between the two foci? So what are the coordinates of my vertex? -6, -2. So in the equation, wouldn't that be x plus 6, x plus 2? I mean, x plus 6, x plus 2. So that one's got x plus 6 and y plus 2. That one's got x plus 6 and y plus 2. This one doesn't, and this one doesn't. So just by figuring out where the vertex goes, we've narrowed it down to A and B. Now, if the length of the minor axis is 4 units, isn't the minor axis going to be this way, because the foci are always on the major? So if the length of the minor axis is 4 units, it's 2 away this way and 2 away this way. So wouldn't that mean under the x is 2 squared, which is 4? And so it'd have to be B. Another way you could look at this is the foci are always plotted on the major axis. Well, if these are the foci, wouldn't that make the y the major axis? And wouldn't that mean the bigger of the two numbers needs to be under the y? Let me say that again. Your foci points are always plotted on your major axis. Well, the foci points were plotted up and down. So that means y is your major axis. This ellipse ends up being taller than it is wide, correct? Which means your y value has the bigger number under it. Okay, number 14. We're not going to need a graph for this. They want you to change it from general form to standard form. This is what we just finished up yesterday. So what's the first step? Right, group your variables and move the constants. So that'll be 4x squared minus 48x plus y squared minus 6y equals -137. Then what do you do? Factor out. We got to factor out that 4. So when you factor out a 4 out of 4x squared minus 48x, what's left in here? Minus 12x. Because remember, 48 divided by 4 is 12. Now over here, with the y squared, it's a 1y squared. So there's nothing to factor out. You just write it. Okay, now that we've factored out anything that needed to be, now what do we do? Write the blank. So 4 times x squared minus 12x plus blank, and then plus y squared minus 6y plus blank. Even though there was nothing to factor out, there's a b value, so we're going to put a blank. And then it equals -137 plus blank plus blank. How do we fill in the blanks? Right. For the x trinomial, what is the b value? Divided by 2? Squared? But over here, you would do 36 times 4, which is 144, right? Okay? Over here, what's your b value for the y trinomial? Divided by 2? Squared? And then it didn't have a number factored out, so you just add 9 over here. So now we have 4, and I'm going to go ahead and factor that trinomial. And then I'm going to factor this trinomial. And then over here, what does this all total up to be? 16. Okay, so to get x squared, we need x times x. And to get y squared, we need y times y. What numbers multiply to 36 and add to negative 12? Negative 6 and negative 6. So won't this part just end up being 4 times x minus 6 squared? So look up here, I see an x plus 6. I can go and mark that one out. And then over here, what numbers multiply to 9 and add to negative 6? Negative 3 and negative 3. So won't this just end up being a y minus 3 squared? Is there anything to mark out? No, they all say y minus 3 squared. Okay, now all ellipses equal what? 1. So if I divide this by 16, it'll become a 1, right? But that means I divide this by 16, which look, eliminates b. There's no 16 under there. And then I divide this by 16. Can't you reduce 4 over 16 right here to 1 over 4? So there should be a 4 under the x minus 6. This one has it. A didn't. Okay, let's quickly try 15. Can I erase, or is everybody still copying? We're good? Okay, number 15. First we group, so it'll be 4x squared plus 8x plus 9y squared minus 54y equals positive 59. Because that negative 59 has to be added to the other side. Now I'm going to factor out the 4 and the 9. So 4 times x squared plus 2x. And now I'm going to factor out the 9. Y squared minus 6y equals 59. Now I'm going to add in my blanks. 4 times x squared plus 2x plus blank. And now I'm going to add my blank to the y trinomial. And that means I have to add 2 blanks to the right side, to the 59. Okay, to fill in the blanks, you take the b, divide it by 2, and square it. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, 1 squared is 1. But over here, you multiply it by 4, so 4. The b of this trinomial is negative 6, divided by 2 is negative 3, squared is 9, but 9 times 9 is 81 over here. So now this totals up to what? What is 59 plus 85 basically? 144? Okay, so now we need to factor this, and I'm going to skip a step. I'm going to go ahead and write it once and square it, because we know that'll happen anyway. What numbers multiply to positive 1 and add to positive 2? 1 and 1. Okay, so write it once, square it. What numbers multiply to 9, add to negative 6? Negative 3 and negative 3. So write it once, square it. Now to get this to equal 1, you divide everything by 144 so that that will equal 1. Okay, and you might go ahead and be able to narrow down x plus 1. That one and that one don't have an x plus 1. Y minus 3, a and b are still in it. Now let's reduce. 4 over 144 reduces to 1 over what? 36. So it's got to be d. D has the 36 under it. And then 9 over 144 must reduce to 1 over 36. I mean, 1 over 16, which is right there. Correct? Okay, listen.